Outgoing Venezuelan National Assembly finally named 13 new judges for the Supreme Court and 21 substitutes, after failing to reach enough majority the day before. The National Assembly needs 2/3 support to change members of the Supreme Court. If that consensus is not reached in the first 2 votes, it can pass with just a simple majority on a third one. The Supreme Court can authorize criminal proceedings against the President, Vice President, ministers, and lawmakers. They are also able to get veto laws passed by the National Assembly.
The National Assembly has completed its work, its task of accordance with the national constitution, and we are going to continue doing so until the day you, the opposition, are installed as the majority. Enjoy being the majority, but right now we are following this constitution.
New Argentinian President Mauricio Macri took office on December 10th, sacked the director of the Federal Authority for Audiovisual Communication Services, AFSCA, on Wednesday. It was just another ruling by Macri to remove officials with alliances to previous President Cristina Fernandez and replace them with a team willing to implement his free market policies.
If they don't like the law, they have to go to Parliament and debate it. Mauricio Macri built his whole campaign around the quality of institutions, Republican values, and the quality of democracy. So that's what I'm saying. In the name of institutional quality, the division of power, and Republican values, if they have a problem with the law, they have to go to Parliament and debate it.
The Mexican Army has accepted that a special commission on Ayotzinapa speak with elements of the 27th Infantry Battalion. Human rights organizations have been demanding this meeting take place for months. The meeting will take place in January or February next year. Regarding crime in the country, the government argues that violent crimes and human rights abuses are reducing, while analysts and independent experts claim the exact opposite. The Syrian government has confirmed it will participate in peace talks in Geneva. The announcement comes after the United Nations Security Council approved a resolution Wednesday outlining an international roadmap to end the Syrian process. The Syrian government will join the Syrian opposition in Geneva to negotiate a peace deal. The UN resolution calls for Syrians to hold new elections.
We hope that this dialogue will be successful to help us in having a national unity government.
我们希望对话能够取得成功，帮助。
And this government will compose a constitutional committee to look for a new constitution with a new law of election, so the parliamentary election will be held within the period of 18 months, more or less.
The Iraqi army continued its assault on the city of Ramadi under control of the Islamic State group. The army has been able to recover control over various districts in the south of the city and are now moving forward with explosive teams to deactivate bombs and traps left by the terrorist group throughout the city. The government says the city could be retaken in the following days.
The Honduran new transportation law will change many things in the obsolete public transportation service, such as the quality of the units and the regulation on the routes or schedules. What it won't change are the high crime rates that workers and users of this service suffer on a daily basis. In 2015, at least 30 people that work as bus drivers, assistants, or who own buses were murdered. The region of Atlántida in the north of Honduras is one of the country's places with highest rates of crime against public transportation.
They approve security measures such as cameras, sensors, and panic buttons, and this may help the police to reach those places where these crimes are happening, be it in buses or cars. We said from the beginning, however, that this law wouldn't stop criminals, extortionists in this case, from killing bus drivers or bus owners. We have always said that the only way to solve this is to attack the root of the problem and those things that lead young people to extort or kill.
Historically, in Honduras, public transportation has been in private hands that sell their service to the government. Now with the new law, in order to continue receiving their payment, they will have to improve the quality of the service. The problem continues to be insecurity that affects all the aspects of the lives of the Honduran population.
The president of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, actively sought for Palestine to join several international organizations in 2015. It was considered an important step in the history of the Palestinian state. The move outraged Israeli officials who have long opposed any initiative by the Palestinians to seek recognition of any international organization. One of the initial measures taken by the Palestinian government was to submit a request to join the International Criminal Police Organization, commonly known as the Interpol, in January 2015, before its annual meeting in November. Palestinian officials said that the step would be beneficial for the Palestinian police as they will receive training courses, expertise, and information from the international organization.
It is a great achievement based on the sacrifice of the Palestinian people and their blood. Joining the international institutions was very important to us. It will allow us to submit complaints against the Israeli occupiers and pursue its war criminals, granting Palestine a non-member observer state status at the United Nations, the rising of Palestinian flag at the international body, as well as joining the international institutions and forums, has exhausted the Israeli occupation.
In April 2015, the Palestinians became the 123rd member of the International Criminal Court after it filed a declaration accepting the terms of the court over alleged crimes committed across the Palestinian territories. Meanwhile, the Palestinian flag was raised for the first time at the United Nations headquarters in New York after a speech in which the president of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, addressed the General Assembly on September the 30th. The UN General Assembly had previously voted for a draft proposal which allowed the raising of the Palestinian flag at the UN, with 119 countries in favor, 45 abstentions, and 8 countries, including the United States and Israel, against. The Third Intifada, or the Knives Uprising, broke out in Jerusalem and the West Bank at the beginning of October and gradually extended to include Gaza Strip and the occupied territories, marking the most important and remarkable event in Palestine in 2015. In September, extremist Jewish organizations and rabbis made calls arguing all Jewish settlers to storm the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. The calls sparkled a wave of unstoppable violence and raised panic and suspicions between both the Arabs and the Israelis.
The Third Intifada did not occur randomly. It was the result of a bitter measure taken by the Israeli forces against the Palestinian people in Jerusalem. The Israelis wanted to impose a temporal division on the Holy City, and then they started attacking worshippers at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. However, the Intifada launched in an effective way after the Itamar operation in Nablus, and then the Palestinian crowds took the streets with stones and knives. They began run-over operations against Israeli security forces and settlers.
Israeli settlers burned the home of the Adawabsha family in the West Bank city of Nablus in July. The attack resulted in killing all the members of the family, with the exception of 5-year-old Ahmed. As a result, the Palestinians carried out a series of stabbing, run-over, and shooting attacks against the Israelis, the most important of which was the Itmar operation in the West Bank city of Nablus, in which 2 Israelis were killed and 3 were injured. Meanwhile, Palestinian media outlets reported that a total of 117 Palestinians were killed and more than 14,000 were injured since October, in contrast to 20 dead Israelis and 315 who were reported injured in Palestinian attacks since October.
Government has announced it will move forward with a set of laws to amend the constitution in order to allow the state of emergency to be issued by the government without legal restraints. The move comes accompanied by a controversial proposal to strip dual nationality citizens from their French nationality in cases where they are suspected of terrorism.